Hi everyone, my name is Federico, and this is Cuttle's weekly live stream. So for today, I wanted to kind of take a deep dive onto this specific pattern. I'm probably gonna butcher the way it's pronounced. I guess it's Rattan, but I've seen this pattern be used in like laser cut designs. I guess it comes from this type of weaving. I don't know why it's called hexagonal. We'll discuss that here in a moment. But I guess it comes from like Southeast Asia, and like, you know, it was very popular with furniture at some point. But it has kind of like a vintage vibe that like people with laser cutting started using. Like for example, let me check some Etsy. So like if you search for this pattern laser cutting, you'll see that people use it for ornaments, and like you can buy the patterns. Like I see this kind of like door hanger, small sign options. I think it's a cool look. And then like I've seen a number of these where like people use it with like other with little signs or tags. So hopefully you've seen it before. Oh, with letters. Yeah, the letter use is kind of cool. So I kind of wanted to show you how I would go about like, you know, figuring out the pattern and like how to make it. This one is cool. It also has this score and cut, and different sizes. So anyway, I'm really into patterns. So this one was like a sort of fun challenge. But then once I did it, I was like, oh, okay, this is a little simpler than I expected. So I'm going to start with just like a blank project. I'm going to give it a name. And then, so I wanted to kind of analyze it when I started doing these, so I could bring an image into my project. So I could import an image, and I kind of did a screenshot of these, so I could kind of get a sense for it. So the first time I started kind of looking at it, I noticed that this center section would be like an octagon. So I could like do like an 8-sided thing like these. And then I started kind of like placing my octagon here in the middle. But then I kind of realized that the octagon was like this, the shape of the inside hole, but that shape was actually kind of better understood as like the combination of two squares. Well, let me see let me tell you what I mean. Like if I grab a square and size it a little bit, I could see that like there are lines going across. So that's one of the squares, you know, horizontally. Then there are lines going vertically. So that's another one of the squares. And then there are lines going diagonally. But then if I they are going at a 45-degree angle. So for example, if I take this same square and then rotate it by 45 degrees, that also matches the lines. Oops, let me move that. Maybe I should lock that image so it doesn't mess with me. That wasn't the image. Anyway, so I could make the hairline. Yeah, so there we go. So then I was thinking, oh, okay, this might be like the basis for this pattern. It's just two squares. One of them is rotated 45 degrees. So let's test that out. Like, so I'm going to create a new component here. And then I think my end result should be a little bit smaller than 1 inch, because 1 inch seems like really big. So I wanted to start with a square that was like half an inch. Sounded like reasonable to me. So I did a square that's half an inch. Then I can duplicate it, and then I can rotate it 45 degrees. So if I hold the shift key, you'll see that it snaps to 15, 30, and then horizontal or 45. So now that I have like this base thing, I could kind of like use the tile repeat to like test it. So I'm gonna call these what do we call these? I don't know, the base tile. So in a different component, I'm gonna place my base tile, and then I can use that tile repeat. So I'm gonna go to modify, there's this tile repeat. Now I just need to like connect it. So when you're using tile repeat, whenever you select the base shape, you'll get these handles. There's like blue handle with a displacement. So I could like kind of change the displacement here and the other displacement. But sometimes you want to match certain points. And so as a default, the origin, it's right at the center of your shape. But if you hold Command or Control on Windows, if you do it twice, you get Siri. But if you hold Command, let me undo that. If you hold Command, then you can move the transform center. So I want the corners of the rectangles to match, so I can place it first on the top corner, and now I can grab the displacement handle and make it touch. And this is not going to work for the other side, so I can move the origin again, and I can make this displacement handle snap to the corner. So check this out. I think I have like part of the pattern here because I get the 45-degree lines going in both directions, and I almost get the horizontal lines. So close, but not quite. So I think what I need to do is, connect this line to this one. And so what that means is I sort of need to extend, because if I extend this one like halfway, and the other one is gonna match it. So what I'm kind of analyzing here is that like if let me drag a guide so I can like, I need this line to extend all the way to here to the like midpoint, and that needs to happen all around. So so I can like make those lines kind of be continuous. So let me go back to my base tile, and I'm gonna drag a bunch of guides to make that happen. So I can do it here. Like to get guides, you click on the ruler on the top, and then you click on the ruler and drag. And here we go. So I'm gonna use the pen tool. And so the idea here, oh, maybe I didn't put it where I wanted. The idea here is I wanna like make a line from here to the edge. And then from here to the edge, I'm holding the shift key so that they stay horizontal. And then I need to do that all around. But what this made me think is that like, so that there are essentially lines going across. I guess this would work. Hold the shift key, then pen tool, holding the shift key. And then every time I'm making a new line, I hit select again, and then I start it. So as you can see, the shortcut for select is V. So whenever I hit pen, then I can hit make my line, and then hit the V. So it kind of snaps out of it. So I think these gives me that connection point. So now if I move over to my pattern, then I think this works. I got the horizontal lines, the vertical lines, and then the 45-degree lines. Now, how do we go from these to a laser cut thing? I think outline stroke is going to do it for us. So, so basically, I'm going to go to the base tile, and then I select everything, and there's a modifier called outline stroke that essentially gives it some thickness. But if I do the default width, I see that these intermediate holes over here kind of disappear. So what I want to do is do my outline to enough that I can see those holes. Let me move over to my pattern. So my base tile looks like this. And then when I have everything, I get these kind of like overlaps, but I can deal with that by selecting and then applying a Boolean union. So that works. I think that gives me like the base pattern. Let me see if we can compare. Here's my, so I get horizontal lines, vertical lines, and then a square in between. So let's cut it. Like, so because this is kind of like good to go. I can make it as big as I want if I increase the number of repetitions. But I think I did a 4x4. Yeah, 4x4. 4x4. So then you can go to File, download SVG, and then cut it. So yeah, check this out. My masking game wasn't super great, so you can see some scorching, but like, I think it sells the idea. Like, it cut all together. I think it gives me the pattern that I wanted. It takes a while to cut. Actually, it's like a surprising amount of holes. I've noticed that. So I did notice that some of the ones I saw on Etsy. I'm gonna extract the width parameters. So I'm gonna go extract this project so we can like visualize it better. I did notice that some of the ones on Etsy would like have, if I increase the width all the way to 0.1 more or less, those little holes disappeared, but they still kind of give you an abstracted sense of the pattern, like the smaller holes. And that seems to work. Like I cut one of these too. And so fewer holes, and you still get the look. This is the comparison. This is like exactly the same, but the width on this one is 0.06 and the width on this one is 0.1. So I don't know. I think it works without having these little additional holes. So that's good. The next step I wanted to do was like, I like the look of those, of having like the scores to create like the real effect of the weave. So I wanted to figure those out. I started doing it with this small version with the, what is this base style? The 0.5 inches. And I didn't have like enough, it wasn't big enough to like do the scores. So I think it works better if I do a slightly different one. So I'm gonna create a base style that is 0.75 inches. 0.75. These numbers are labels. They're not gonna do anything for me, but like, so I'm gonna construct it in a similar way, and maybe redundant, but like I'm still gonna show you the construction just again. So I start with a rectangle or square. I'm gonna change the scale to 0.75. So that's my base. Then I'm gonna duplicate it. So I can right click on it, duplicate, and then rotate it while holding shift. So it's 45 degree. And now I'm just gonna do the guides again to extend it. Although this is what I noticed actually, check this out. I'm gonna put guides everywhere that match that. I'm gonna drag a bunch of guides and show you what I mean. So I want one more here. So I'm dragging the guides and making them snap to the existing geometry. There we go, bunch of guides. New feature, by the way. If you go to view, there is an option that says show guides. And so by default is on, so you can like turn it off and then all your guides are gone. But they still exist right there. You can kind of preview them. So let's bring them back on. And so what I noticed is that like this could just be a straight line. So I can actually get rid of this rectangle and then just draw a straight line right here from here to here. And I could draw the other 4 lines, but I'm going to be fancy and I'm going to use the modifier. I could do the rotational repeat. And I know it's not that many, it's just 4. So I'm going to reduce these to 4. And that also gives me exactly the thing I wanted. Let me hide the guides. So this is exactly the pattern. See, like I told you, it wasn't going to be as complicated. It's like this base tile is like simpler than it. So then I'm going to create a new component, and then I'm going to use my 0.75. I mean, if the base rectangle is 0.75, the base tile ends up being about 1 inch. When making the tiling, is nicer to do it without the outlining the stroke, because like, well, let me show you why. If I outline the stroke right now, outline stroke also applies like a union, so you can see that, you know, it gives me a single shape. And then I try to tile these. I'm going to apply the tile repeat. You'll notice that it's like harder to see the point, because the point where they match. I mean, this is very close because the default tile is 1 inch, but it's not exactly precise because these points aren't matching. So what I mean by that is that it's better to do it. I'm going to disable the outline stroke for now. And notice how the corners are not matching. We just want those corners to match. So I'm going to select the tile repeat. I'm going to move the origin point, make it bigger. I'm going to move the transform center. So I'm going to move it to the corner first, left corner, so I can snap it perfectly to the corners of those rectangles. And then I'm going to hold command, move it to a corner, and make it snap to the corners of these. So that gets me that pattern again. Now I can enable the outline stroke. And I can Boolean union these guy. I'm going to go with the default 0.1 width. Now the scores. Let's make this red. I think it's more visible on screen and also easier to cut. So here we go. So the idea with the weave is that you get this kind of like, you know, over, under, over, under. And so you have to, initially I started doing it by hand so I could like kind of understand what was going on. So I'm going to use the pen tool and I'm going to snap it. So let's say if I start over here with, so I need to do 2. So 1 and 2 lines. So that gives me the over, and then this one should be under. So you see, you get the over, and then this one should be over, and this one should be under, and kind of like so on and so forth. But like, it would be really tedious to do them all like these. So what I did notice is that there is a pattern here. So, I mean, yeah, I'm making a pattern, but the over under of this rectangle repeats around. So if I were to, I'm gonna make it blue so it's more visible. I could actually do like a rotational repeat here. So if I select these 2 and I create a rotational repeat, this is an octagon, so it has 8 sides. So I need to do 8 sides. And so notice how the 8 sides just match really nicely to give me the over, under of this rectangle. And that means I only drew 2 paths. And I think the same thing applies for so these just that repeat gives me all the lines that go diagonally. And then to get the lines that go vertically, I can do another 2. So I can do this one, Just making it snap to the corners. If I do a rotational repeat on this one, let's make it blue. I can get the same effect. Like, well, actually, I just need to move it down to this rotational repeat, so it belongs to the same group. So that gives me all the horizontal ones. So it works, I think. To make life a little less complicated, I could separate this group, the score group, onto a different component. So let me do that. Maybe I mean I could replicate that component, but I can right click on this, and then there is an option that says extract as component. So that just took that group, the one with the scores, and then extracted it as a component. Maybe this is like a little easier to see. You can see that if I do, this is the thing that repeats these 4 lines. That repeats 8 times, like these 8. And that's what gives us all the scores. I think it's very economical. So then what I need to do is match the same pattern for the scores. So I can take this style repeat, and I don't need to do all the messing around with the spacing and stuff like that, because I can simply copy these. So I could do Command C, and I go to the scores. I could call this the scores actually. Scores. And then go paste. And that will paste exactly the same thing on top. One thing that to watch out for when doing this operation is that there is actually going to be some overlaps. So some like duplicated lines. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to slightly change the displacement here. So look at this. Let me hide the main pattern. So notice how these 2 lines right here, these are repeated. So they're kind of like overlapping each other. So if you were to score that, you would get like a double score. Let me undo that. So we need to, I mean, it's hard to see, but like by moving it aside a little bit like that, you see how these 2 are repeated, all the crossing ones. So what I need to do about that is I need to remove the lines that overlap. So only on the scores, I can apply this modifier called remove overlaps all the way down here. And it looks like nothing happened, but like those 2 lines that were overlapping disappeared. So now I send this to the laser cutter, and this one also takes a little bit because I did the scores kind of slow, so they would like. But I think the effect is kind of cool. Like check this out. So all the red lines cut, so this cuts as a single piece. But then the score lines give you that kind of this woven effect, which I think is like really effective. I think, I don't know, this could be a coaster or something like that, but I'm kind of really into the look of this like kind of faux woven pattern. So yeah, compare that to, where's my other one? Yeah, to these. So this is cool. It works. It gives you the look that you want with less work, but this one is like also cool, I think, and it gives you this kind of like fancy effect. So that's the construction of the pattern. But like I think looking at Etsy, I saw that people used it in different with different projects. So I think it's worthwhile just like discussing a little bit how to use it. Let me see. So I saw a couple of like ornaments. So let me create a new component, and then we can like sketch out a quick ornament. So I'm gonna grab the one without scores first, with the 06. Why isn't it red? I want it to be red. So I'm gonna center it by hand, meaning I'm gonna grab it from the midpoint of this center place, and I'm gonna just drag all the way to the center. And then I'm gonna select the midpoint here, and I'm gonna hold the shift key so it only moves horizontally. So manually centered. So now I want like a circle. So, or I want a circle to be about, let's see, how big of a circle can I fit here? So I can do like 2.5 inches more or less. It looks good. So I'm going to use the mask to, I just want to cut whatever is inside of the circle. So I'm going to do modify mask. One slight downside of what I just did is that, oh, hold on. So now I want like an outline. So I'm going to grab another circle and let's make it something like this, a little bigger. So what I was saying is that one slight downside of what I just did with the mask is that whatever you mask is not going to match the pattern perfectly. And so you're going to end up with like these uncut half pieces. Like see this triangle here? Like that triangle is not complete. So it's not going to be a perfect hole going through it. And same with this bigger octagon, because the octagon got kind of like cut off. Then the octagon is not, it's just going to cut this line and it's not going to like punch through. So the fix for that in this case is we can, to that mask group, we can apply another modifier called merge paths. So these merge paths has a funky name, but it only works on open paths, meaning, you know, this is an open path because it is, you know, it's not, it doesn't close the circle, it's not complete. So when I apply the to modify merge paths, that's gonna, you can see the results here. It's showing me what paths it connected. And so merge paths uses a connect distance, meaning is if it finds something that is within that distance, it's gonna try and connect it. So you can see that it connected too many things. Like we don't want it to connect from here to here. That's like too much. So what we can do is reduce the distance, the connect distance, until it matches what we want. So maybe, maybe I need to make this a little smaller. Let me see. Pretty odd. It's not working the way I want it, because I wanted to connect these two pieces. So maybe I want to make this mask circle a little bigger. And then mess with the connect distance. There we go. This one, I don't like this one in particular, so I'm going to change the size of the circle a little. So it just covers that section. Okay, this requires a little bit of tweaking. Okay, I think that's more or less the look I'm looking for. And then I'm just gonna adjust the outside circle, so it's a little bigger. Okay, so yeah, this is what I wanted. I wanted those holes to be completed, and then for the outside circle, I'm just gonna add a hole with the usual add hole modifier over here. It's just a quick hole. So now I can send this to the laser cutter, and then this is roughly the result. So. But yeah, masking takes a little bit of effort, but like here, you can see how those octagons were like completed on the edges. So that's a good one. It's a little more elaborate to try and do it with the scores, because the merge paths kind of gets on the way a tiny bit. So I was trying, let me show you what I mean. So if I bring the one that has scores, center it real quick. And I try to apply a mask on it. Let me show you what happens. So the mask works because it gives me the thing I want. But then if I were to cut it, if I were to add the cut, I suffer from the same kind of problem where like some holes are not complete. But if I were to apply the merge paths in this case, you'll see that it's going to try and complete a bunch of stuff, including the blue. I mean, it's a funky pattern. It's kind of interesting in some ways, but it's not the one that we're looking for. The kind of workaround I started. So yeah, this one needs work. The workaround I kind of figured was, let me undo all these, is that these, if you want the scores for now, it works really well if you mask a rectangle. So if you do a rectangle and then match the rectangle to the pattern like these, I mean, meaning like it falls within those edges. Let's do the mask again. Then you can play around with cutting it this way. So, past time, but I wanted to show you this last one. So I can do this for the outside. And then I noticed that some people on Etsy were like adding a little frame, which is kind of consistent with the look. So I could like duplicate this rectangle. This could be a component, but I'm gonna do it a little faster. And then give it an outline stroke, put it on the inside, and then we could add a hole to that at 0 degrees. So this way I can cut the base, and then, so I can cut this base. So I still get those scores, and then, the corners are a little odd. So I think it makes sense to add that frame to mask it. And that kind of gives it like a more finished look, or it gives the impression that the strands are going into some place. So I think that's the trick. All right, cool. So that's it for this pattern. A little elaborate in some ways, but hopefully you can use it on your projects. I'm gonna share this project, of course, so you can always simply, if you want to include this pattern in one of your projects, you can simply go here and say copy component. And then if you have a new project that you're working with, you can paste it. And then I did Command V, and then it comes in with all of these. You don't have to do like all the work I just did to make it work. You can just simply increase the number of repetitions, so you're kind of like good to go with your new project. So I'll provide that. I think we could do a little more work on like making the patterns easier to use, but I think this is a good start. All right, cool. Thank you so much for watching. Next weekend is Thanksgiving, so no live stream. I'll do an announcement. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and let me see. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.